Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Avatar, The Way of Water. And this movie is directed by James Cameron, and it came out in 2022, 13 years after the first Avatar. And it's his first movie he directed after the first Avatar. And this movie has been delayed so many times, I don't even know how many times. It was supposed to come out in 2016 at one point, then just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and finally we have it. So after being delayed for so long, it's got a lot of hype to live up to, because the first movie grossed a ton of money. It was the highest grossing movie when it came out, and I'm sure a lot of people were very excited to see this movie. I mean, the hype kind of died down a bit because this movie took so long to come out, but now we finally have it, and I unfortunately have some mixed feelings on this movie. I didn't hate it. There were parts of it that I really enjoyed. There are a couple of things that I love about the movie, but all in all, it just was a worse version of the first movie, because the story here is basically the same thing as the first movie. As far as the villains are concerned, they're one of my least favorite parts about the movie. And it's just the same thing, and it's just cartoonish, it's cheesy, and they just need to be chasing our main characters around just to keep the tension up, and that's literally all they do in the movie. And they're also collecting some thing, I forget what they call it, but it prevents you from aging or something. I don't know how that works, but yeah, apparently they say in the movie it's worth $80 million. And also humans are going to Pandora, not just to take up all these things, this device thing or whatever that prevents you from aging, but also apparently Earth is not a safe place to live on anymore, or they say something like that, and you're just supposed to go along with it. And also this movie takes place I don't know how many years later after the first movie, but quite a while, and then it takes a while for anything to get going. And the action in the movie I liked. I thought the action was good, and I liked it being back in this world again, and it was fun. And it did feel like I was kind of getting the same experience as the first movie. And what I mean by that is the main character in the movie is pretty much the planet, and you learn how this planet operates and what's on it and all that stuff. And that was the best part of the movie for me, and I really enjoyed that. I love the special effects in the movie. Everything looks fantastic, and from that perspective it lives up to the hype. It looks beautiful, and nothing looked fake to me, and all of that was great. And the music in the movie was good, but unfortunately James Horner, the composer for the first Avatar, he passed away sadly. So we got a new version of a lot of the same music from the first movie, and also its own thing, and I like it, but it kind of just feels like it's a worse version of the first movie. Musically, it just doesn't impact me as much, probably because I don't like this movie as much as the first movie. And I'm not saying the first movie is a masterpiece, but it's better than this. And I was just more into that first movie, and I do think this movie is too long. This movie is over 3 hours long, and that runtime is not justified. It could have easily been 2.5 hours, and I would have been fine with it, because going 3 hours is pushing it, but over 3 hours, what is really explored that justifies that runtime? Sure, maybe it's to give you some nice long action scenes, and the action I like. And the only complaint I have with the action in this movie would be that there are some zooms, camera zooms, and it was very distracting, and it just reminded me of Man of Steel, the zooms in on some of the characters as like the action was going down, and it just kept reminding me of that movie and how distracting it was, and that's kind of the same thing here. And the performances in this movie, like, no one stood out to me as like amazing. Like Sam Worthington, he was fine, and a lot of the performances were either good or fine. Like the child actors, I felt were like the worst part of the acting. I thought they were kind of bad, but there's not too many like child actors in the film, so the movie doesn't get dragged down by that. But I do wish that it was just improved, so like certain scenes could be a bit better for me, and that's all I really wanted, really. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about my own personal enjoyment of the movie. Like I enjoyed, like for most of it up until like the last hour of the movie, which is just almost all action. Like up until that point, it was kind of like 50-50. Half of it I was enjoying, the other half I was not enjoying it, and I was kind of bored. But then we got into the third act, and that's kind of what saved the movie for me, and it made the movie like, okay, like I actually got something from this movie. Like I got some good action, and the movie looks nice. It's well shot throughout most of it, and the special effects are really great, and there were character moments that I really enjoyed, and there are also some character moments that I didn't really feel as though were explored enough. And unfortunately, I can't really talk about those things because I don't want to spoil too much that I haven't already said. But overall, I do think this movie works more than it doesn't. And one last thing that I'll say about this movie is that there is some narration in this movie, and sometimes it works for me, other times it does not. The only times it works for me is when it's used as a tool to either catch you up to speed as to what happened in between the first movie and this movie, and the other time it works for me is when it's like developing the world that this movie is taking place in, like Pandora and how everything works, and that I liked, but whenever it's not that and it's just like explaining like the most basic things ever, and I'm just sat there listening to this, and I'm just like, did we honestly really need to hear that? Like really? Like who doesn't know that at this point? And that's about all I have to say about Avatar: The Way of Water. I enjoyed it. I'll probably watch this movie again just to see how it works for me for a second time. It's not a movie I'm rushing back to seeing. I'll probably watch the first movie over this movie because I enjoyed that a lot more, and there was just more that I liked in that first movie as opposed to this one. And while this movie, I thought it was good, it just was, like I said already, a worse version of the first movie. Still enjoyed it, but it's kind of disappointing for me, and it's not really comparable to like James Cameron's previous movies that I've seen, or like it doesn't quite live up to the hype that 13 years have built on it. So whatever, it's a good movie, and I'm glad that it was watchable at the very least. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of Avatar: The Way of Water, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Breakfast Club. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.